Hello and welcome to my latest idea to solve that irritating problem when painting miniatures. As we all know, achieving smooth blends between colours is quite difficult. To achieve smooth blends using acrylics requires a lot of time, knowing how much to thin your paint for glazes, using different shades of the same colour, use multiple different mediums, knowing which way to paint. It's hard. But with oil paints, you just put on a couple of shades and just mash them together. It just blends itself. So, why not give it a try? For this video, I tried to find out if you can use oil paints instead of acrylics. I've used this little miniature as a test bed to experiment on. As I'm new to painting with oils on miniatures, the skin does look like she's been sunburnt. But seeing as I haven't got a recipe for skin, I have to try and start from somewhere before I paint something I really want to paint. I hope you enjoy the video and have fun. To see if I could use oil paints on miniatures instead of just for washes, I dug out an old 3D print to experiment on. After removing all the dust that accumulated on it, I asked my wife for a random colour. As she chose blue, I asked my phone to show me images of a long blue dress with a complementary colour. Unfortunately, I don't like painting orange, so I told it I wanted red, and as the images look good, that's the colour scheme I'm going with. As this is a small model, I'll only need these paints. Well, and some enamels as well, and not forgetting the dangerous chemicals. Apart from the solvents, adding an element of danger in painting, like keeping your water pots near the electrics, can make it more fun. I don't recommend doing the same thing, but who's gonna stop you? Honestly, what's the worst that's gonna happen? But seriously, don't do it. I'm a muppet. I only realised how much danger I was in until after I'd finished. Back to the model. Unfortunately, I still can't understand what the little squares on the back of the paint tubes mean. One is for transparent paint and the other is for opaque paint. Seeing as googling which one was which was too difficult, I figured giving it an acrylic base coat would help the oil along. Something profound popped into my head, but I forgot what it was. So here's me pointing a hard stiff brush at her One thing to remember when using oil paints is the need to plan ahead, as each layer will take 1 to 2 days to dry, as well as getting a coat of varnish to protect it from any cleanup from the solvents from the next colour. So in hindsight, although I found it easier to blend with the oils and save time painting, this still took several days longer to finish this little miniature. As acrylic paint and oil paint don't mix, painting the eyes first with acrylic paint and then applying the oil paint for skin texture means that I can clean the oil paint off of the acrylic eyes without damaging them. For the eyes, I used a black paint for the socket, a very light flesh tone for the eyeball, and a dark brown for the pupil. When I was happy with the final result, I thinned out the black areas around the eye using the original base colour of the skin. Off camera, I did paint the eyeballs about 15 times. I do actually hate painting eyes. Even if they're slightly wrong, your figure will be completely ruined. So the only advice I can give is learn how to hold your breath and just be very patient. Now it's time for the oil paints. Instead of a typical wet palette, I'll be using a glass palette. To simplify the different shades of colour, I'm only going to use a grey and a soft white for mixing. The grey and soft white will also not be used on the model itself. To apply the oil paint, I will start with the lightest colour first and sketch out where I believe the highlight should be. As I know oils spread and blend quite easily, the oil paints will just be roughly applied without any real precision. The reason why I start with the lightest colour first is because I can't be bothered to clean the brush between the different shades. If I started with the darkest colour first, it would just darken my highlight colour all the more. When it comes to placing the light and dark colours, the lighter areas are the ones facing the sun and the darker areas are the ones in the shadow. If I do get an area wrong, I don't care, it's my model, it still looks good to me. As for blending the actual oils together, it's very important the brush you use has no solvent on it at all. Otherwise it will just lift the oil paint straight off. The technique I found to work quite well for blending was to make short jabbing motions and to clean the excess oil off of the brush regularly on some kitchen towel. I'm not sure if it matters, but again I work from the lightest colour into the darkest. After I blended all the oils together on the dress, I reapplied more highlight colours and dark shadow colours to the areas I thought needed more colour. The great thing about oil paints is they have a very slow drying time, so there's no need to rush, and reapplying paint on top still blends in smoothly to the layer underneath. Being that this was the first oil paint I applied to the model, I was a little bit sloppy. But with a brush moistened in white spirits, cleaning the areas I applied paint to that I didn't want is very straightforward and simple. Just remember, if you are applying oil paints over the area next, make sure the white spirits have dried on the model or the oil paint won't stick properly. For her red stockings, it's time for the next tip. Oil colours are not the same colour as the packaging they're in. This is because one of them was opaque and the other transparent. As you can see here, I've roughly sketched out the highlights, base tone and shadow colours of her stockings. Although I would normally use a flat brush for blending, a pointy one can work just as well. If, like me, you're going to use two different oil colours that are close to each other on a figure, great care and attention is needed when painting. If the red accidentally touches the blue skirt, the colours will blend together to create a purple. I'm not sure how to fix something like that, so I'm not going to try and find out what happens if I do. One of the drawbacks of oil paints is that they're quite shiny, so checking to see if the blends have worked well needs a little bit of shade. It might have something to do with the fact they have oil in them. If you cover your oils in cling film, they'll be good to use for the next day. As I'm old and don't have Superman eyes, a great tool to check your figures out is to use the camera on your phone. Zooming in can show you all the small details that need cleaning up if it's for a project you want to look perfect. I, however, just decided to blast it with some matte varnish. As I was about to paint the skin tones, I wanted to protect the oils I'd already put down, so as when I make a mistake, I can clean the pink oil with white spirits without lifting off the blue or red I'd already painted. I wouldn't recommend copying these colours for your own skin tones, as it does look like it's a very sunburnt skin under a normal light. The bright white light I use for painting did screw with the pink colours, leading me to believe her skin tones looked real. Well, real enough, but on the shelf next to the rest of my models, she could have definitely done with some sun cream during the last heat wave. After following the same highlight and base and shade tone, for all the fleshy areas, I used one of the red oil colours I had and applied it to her lips. Again, after checking the blends under a shade, you can see the skin tone is far too rosy or pink. Once happy, or happy enough, I protected it with varnish. Now it's time for the mid-video review. They misspelt gloss on this satin varnish, and it smells enough to make my wife moan at me, as the clearly gloss and not satin at all varnish upsets my camera's focus. I paint all the small details like hair and skull with acrylic black and white paint, and her shoulder pad things get a dark metallic colour. I gave the skull a wash of Acrylics Earth shade to give it a little bit more depth for when I add the fluorescent paint to it. For the hair, I used darker and lighter browns to roughly sketch out some of the highlights of the hair. I made sure that when painting the areas in the middle, I was as careless as possible on the coverage. I didn't want the paint to cover it neatly. The worse the paint job, the more texture I applied to the hair. When I was happy with the final result, it was time to apply the highlights. These were applied using lighter and lighter browns to an almost white colour the closer the hair got to the light source. For this particular figure, I decided to use her side parting as the guide point. Before I could apply the magic touch and transform it into hair, I highlighted the skull whilst the hair dried, not knowing I was setting the skull up ready for failure. Now, to tone down the highlights on the hair, I applied some Acrylics Earth shade all over. This will stain the whiter areas, toning down and unifying all the colours. I could have used one of my inks, but I didn't want to waste good ink on this little model. Now, there comes a time where my laziness to not fire up the airbrush backfires spectacularly. For some insane reason, I thought I'd brush on some OSL. I don't know why I thought this would work, but after highlighting the metallics, I applied the fluorescent yellow paint over the skull and her chest. and instantly regretted my decision. As this was only an exercise to test blending oils, I didn't want to waste any time on this model. Well, the 10 minutes of airbrushing resulted in over 2 hours of trying to remove paint. And in a cruel twist of fate, I used my airbrush cleaner, as it was more gentle than IPA, to gently scrub off the paint I'd applied on the varnish. I don't know why, but sometimes you just wish you were a brush. Although the fluorescent paint came off quite easily, the Vallejo white paint needed a silicone tip brush to gently rub off of the model. Maybe I'll get reincarnated as a silicone tip brush. One can always hope. Realising that trying the fluorescent paint again would only be asking for trouble, I decided to just paint the skull yellow and apply some Agrax Earthshade on it. Red, blue and yellow are the primary complementary colours. Before the wash had time to dry, I gently rubbed off all the little flat areas. Again, as more for an experiment, I cracked up my enamel paint to give the figure a pin wash in all the areas that connected together. This model will only be seen on a shelf and not used on a tabletop, so I thought reinforcing these shadows will help it stand out. As there were only a few areas on the model that received the wash, I only used a brush dipped in white spirits to remove the excess, instead of using a cotton bud. Just remember to let your enamel paints dry before cleaning up. To try and take away some of the gloss from the not satin gloss varnish, I brushed on a proper matte varnish over the clothing and a satin varnish over the flesh. After placing it on the shelf, I noticed the skull was too dark, so I reapplied some yellow highlights to help it stand out. And with the figure done, I can happily say that yes, you can use oil paints on your miniatures. I did record this figure with 2 different cameras just to show how different it can look. So let me know what you think. Do you believe the oils blended well? Is the result too subtle? Is it too stark? I'd be happy to find out your opinions. So I'd just like to say thanks for watching and have fun.